And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rappers Got Podcast, episode 7. This is your host, Diggy Metro.
Bailz Diggy.
And today we wanted to talk about purchasing beats, supporting producers, and not ripping beats off YouTube. We understand how easy it is to go and find records, especially in the type beat era where you could kind of just like, oh, I want to make a record that sounds like a Drake record. And then you just go and type in Drake type beat and it comes up and you got a million choices to pick from. There are websites in place, like a BeatStars, like a Track Train, that you can do this and actually lease the record. You could pay for these records. Most of the people that are on YouTube are also on these sites.
BeatStars and everything.
Or they have their own site. There's other ones, Airbit and different sites that they could be on. But the reason why you want to do this is because you want to establish some type of business relationship with these people rather than just stealing from them pretty much.
And I also don't want to listen to your song and then hear your new track today in the middle of the song. I don't want to hear that. Like the tags get taken out when you buy the beat. Hope you know.
It's also, you know what's also corny is when, like I'm going to talk from an engineer standpoint. When an artist comes with a ripped beat and then we'll be like, yo, can you do anything about that?
Yeah, buy it. Purchase it.
They want me to take it out.
And it's like, okay, how I'm going to take this out? You know, I'm going to have to scoop the whole like.
Well, I could like chop certain pieces and drag shit over, but it's like, meanwhile you're doing all that, you could have just paid $20 and gotten the beat.
Exactly.
Also, from an engineer standpoint, when you rip a beat off YouTube, there's a thing called quality degradation or sound degradation. And what happens is when they upload the beat to YouTube, there's already a quality dip because it gets kind of converted when it's going up on YouTube. Then from that point, you take that same beat and you download it now, and it has to be converted again. And what winds up happening is all these nice frequencies that you were listening to on YouTube get stripped. Like, I want you guys to do an experiment. Rip a beat off YouTube.
VidToMP3.com. Not like you don't know where it's at. You know where it's at. I'm on it. I used to be on it too.
When you rip it off YouTube, what I want you to do is I want you to put it into whatever your DAW is, open up a EQ with a frequency analyzer, and I want you to look at where the high frequencies stop. On a WAV file or an MP3 that just is mixed properly, your MP3s, this happens to as well, but like your frequencies are going to go up to 20K, that's where human hearing stops. So human hearing goes from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, right? And if you open up a EQ with a frequency analyzer, you're going to realize that an MP3 track that's ripped off YouTube might stop at like 15K. So there's 5,000 hertz or 5,000 hertz in that top end that are completely taken out.
It's already missing.
Right. So it's missing those high frequencies. Now you put a vocal on there. Guess where vocals sound the sharpest?
I don't remember. It was like, what, 8,000 somewhere like that?
In that high frequency range. That's missing. So you know what winds up happening? When you have these high frequencies like S's and all these like sharp frequencies up top, and then there's 5,000 hertz of space that are no longer there, it makes your vocals sound like shit. So as an engineer, what I have to do is I have to recreate those 5,000 hertz. So I take EQ and I try to boost up that area, but you're really boosting something that's not there.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to overcompensate for something because it's lacking.
Right. So I say that to say it's not just money that you're sacrificing, or it's not just money that you're winning over, because the quality of it is also bad. So it's like you're kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's like, yeah, I could just do this all for free, but your product is a worse product because of it. And your goal in this game should be to put out a quality product. And now if you're going to an engineer and you're willing to pay that amount, what's the extra 20 going to hurt you?
Yeah, exactly. So like for me personally, whenever I hear like a beat, whether it be on BeatStars, and then I'll go check on YouTube. If I like the beat and I feel like I'm vibing to it, I'll go check it on YouTube, see if it's there. I'm not gonna lie, that's when I use the VidToMP3. So then what I would do is I'll take that track and then I'll put it into my DAW. This is for the people that got the home studios. If you don't, then you probably have to find another workaway around it. But then I'll put it in my DAW and then I'll just try to freestyle to the song, see if I really get a vibe to it. And I'll write the song with the rip beat at first, just so I know I'm not wasting my money. But then once that song is complete and I'm like, yo, I can really go forward with this, I go directly to BeatStars and I pay for the beat. Whether it be MP3, whether it be Wave, depending on how I'm feeling or how my pocket's feeling, that's neither here nor there. But I will always go back and purchase the beat because I understand quality will be missing. And yeah, you should go for the Wave, but sometimes maybe you don't got it. Just work with the MP3 and then hopefully your engineer could work something out and figure it out.
I'm not just going to agree with you because we're partners. I'm going to agree with you on that basis because there should be a business sense when you're doing a record. And if you want to reference a record when you're in the writing process or even the recording process, if you're going to make a distinction of like, maybe the record that you thought you were going to write didn't come out the way that you thought.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have the option to be like, fuck that record.
Yeah, I don't need to buy this beat.
Right.
Let me move on.
So in that sense, I don't blame you for that. My gripe is really when you take that record and you bring it to a studio and get it recorded.
Yeah, just with the whole tags and
Right.
everything. That's a problem.
The real problem. Because it's like you're setting yourself up for failure. Like you're setting yourself up to the point where it's like, I can't make money on this record.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to try to, but like, you really shouldn't. You know, I understand that, like, who am I to talk? I'm somebody who raps on samples all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really speak.
Yeah.
But also, my samples don't sound like shit.
Yeah. And like we're not at that point where you need to get the samples clear for the label. Like we're still trying to.
We're not even at a point where they would care.
Exactly. Like if they find out that you're using a sample and it's like they're trying to come at you, yeah, you might have just hit something. You might be somewhere.
I always tell people, you're not gonna be sued for it until you have the money to be sued for it.
Exactly.
So when it comes to using samples, because I've talked to artists that are like upcoming artists who have no following, and they've been like, yeah, just waiting for these sample clearances. And it's like, dog, no the fuck you're not. That's one.
Yeah.
And two, like, that would be the worst expense that you've ever made in your life. Like,
and I think it just also comes into that whole rapper thing of what it's like to be a rapper. There's certain words or there's certain expressions you have to say. Like, I gotta wait for my samples to be cleared. I gotta wait for it to go through this person and that person. It's like, yo, no, you don't, because most likely the producer that made it or used the sample didn't get it cleared either. You know,
bro.
So.
You know the phrase "don't bullshit a bullshitter."
Yeah.
Like, you can't talk to someone who's been doing this music shit for as long as I have and say terms that you think like a person who's a novice would be on board with. You know what I mean? Like, you tell me you're clearing samples, I'm gonna look you in your eyes and tell you that that's like, you shouldn't do that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like, oh, word, yo, like, no, that's the right way to do it. Like, how much money do you think a sample clearance is? Because I guarantee it's more than you think.
A lot.
It's a lot of fucking money.
A lot.
Or it's a lot of percentage.
A lot.
If it's like a higher record, like it could be anywhere from like 100 to like 75% of the record.
But no, like if you're actually getting somewhere and you're like, I want to say like it's hard to say, but I'm gonna just say a mid tier. Like you have a fan, you're doing tours and all that stuff, and you know people are taking notice. Maybe then you may want to pay attention, kind of, you know, don't just jump into so many samples, whatever the case may be. But when you like really starting out and you really just gathering a fan base and you're just really trying to find a sound, I don't think it's so. I tell you this much, it doesn't pop in my mind at all. If there's I had the song that recently came out with Sasha, it had like kind of like a Pharrell and Jay-Z reference from Change Clothes. It's like, if that happened to reach them and they came in looking for me and wanted to sue me for it and they wanted me to take the song down, okay. But that means I just went on somebody's radar at that point.
Well, the difference is like, because the structure of the song is not the same, you're saying the same words, but I don't think that you could get sued for that.
I hope not.
I don't think you can. Because words are different than like sampling. If you took Pharrell's actual sample of him singing it.
Oh yeah, and then playing that, yeah, that'd be a whole different story.
Then
yeah,
it's a sample. I don't think that you can get sued for just repeating, because if that's the case, then Biggie Smalls' estate would have to sue Jay-Z for like everything that he owns.
And they would make a lot of money, not even just from Jay-Z. That's also true.
Because Jay took every Biggie line and flipped it in some way or another.
That's also true. So y'all can't sue me.
But if it was the same beat structure or it was the same, because that's how people really get sued. Like when Robin Thicke got sued by Marvin Gaye's estate
for the blurred line shit, yeah.
It was like the same record. The construction of the record was exactly the same. Like,
All that.
you know, so they could kind of sue for that because it's like it has to be the same exact structure.
Mhm.
It doesn't. If you take now, I just wouldn't recommend taking like a whole verse from an artist and using it as your verse.
Drake.
You know what I mean? But well, that's different. Ghostwriting is completely different. I think that ghostwriting is dope. I think that if you understand how music works, then you don't have a problem with ghostwriting. I think that if you're still on some like 95, yo, you not the top rapper in the game shit, then ghostwriting is a fucking big deal to you. But like, I could sit there and write a chorus for someone and do it with their voice in mind. And I could be like, yo, I think it would sound hard if you did this. And one, I'm not going to walk around telling people, yo, I wrote that shit. Because that's just like an ego. You're like, you have a little dick thing. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even cool. You don't get cool points for that.
And a lot of times, most of the people that are ghostwriting, they don't even want it like to be really known. They just like, yo, I'll just take my money ghostwriting and call it that. Like, they don't even need to let people know.
Also, like, if you're doing it for people that you fuck with, like, there shouldn't even be like a request for something. I could understand if they were like, yo, you wrote some of this song, I want to throw you a split. That's fine. But like, if you're in the studio with an artist that like you're boys with and you set a line and then you go and turn around when it's like playing out and you're like, yo, that part?
Yeah, that was me.
I wrote that shit. Like,
yo,
I saw Drewski put up a video the other day. He was making fun of like that overly aggressive friend, like around girls who like, he like grabs your neck and shit.
Oh, I
and
seen that
like
one,
giving you noogies and shit. That's kind of like what you're doing when you do like that. I wrote that shit.
Yeah.
It's like you're just being that cornball friend that like no one needs.
It just has to be known that it had to be you. You know,
Right.
It can't just be like, oh, your man just did something
You
great.
can't
It's like,
just
I
feel
had to
good
be
for
me.
your friend who made a hard record that you assisted. Like, you have to tell people. And in the industry, bro, that shit is going to happen a lot more often than you think, where people are going to be in the room with you and they're going to tell you to switch a line, or they're going to tell you like, yo, maybe you should say this. I work with artists on a consistent basis that they might be saying something while they're recording, and I'll throw a line at them. Like, why don't you say this instead? And I would never write down all the lines that I've given people.
Yeah, because it's just
it doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? Like, my job is to help you with this record and assist you with this record. So I just find it to be part of the work.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that as you get deeper into the music industry, you start to recognize that it's part of the work. Now, would I call Kanye West, who gets his shit ghostwritten all the time, would I call him like a top tier rapper? No, because I think that there are certain like stipulations that make you in that top 5 category, top 10 category. But I also, like, I wouldn't consider Diddy a rapper, really. I would consider him a producer.
Yeah, producer.
I would consider Kanye a producer. I think Kanye is one of the best people at producing tracks, whether it be vocals or beat.
And then it's like, also when you think about that, like producing, performing as well, it's like entertainment wise, like, you don't have to write the song just to be a good entertainer. You know, and honestly, for me, I didn't even know Travis Scott was getting his stuff written until like a few months ago. So it was just like, that was a big thing for me.
Yo, it's only hip hop. It's only hip hop that matters.
Yeah.
Like, you think fucking Tom Cruise is like writing the screenwrite? Like,
no.
Like, no one gives a fuck. You know what I mean? Only in hip hop can you get called like a cornball for like having someone write a good chorus for you
and help you out. Yeah.
Where like you do the chorus and it sounds amazing, and then they're like, "Oh, he didn't write that though," and you're like,
"Yeah, I can't listen to this guy no more." Yeah, like he don't write his own stuff.
It's like, who cares, bro?
Like,
and if people give a fuck so much, then why is Cardi B like as big of a sensation as she is?
Because a party.
Because she's a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that the only reason why she could get away with it, but like everyone else it's a problem for?
I think it's just it's always selective. I think that's a lot, but everything in life is just it's very selective.
It's people who don't know. It's people that don't know how hits are made.
Yeah, because
it's impossible to have as many hits as some of these artists have without the assistance of dope writers,
team of writers,
dope producers,
team of producers.
It's impossible. Like, if you think Drake has been on the Billboard charts for 10 years plus by himself, you're out of your fucking mind.
Out of your mind.
Like, bro, I had a kid that I used to work with. This is a long time ago. He came up to me and he told me that, did I talk about this on here?
I don't think so.
Okay. I had a kid come up to me and told me that like Drake, his friend was like one of Drake's ghostwriters in Florida. And I remember being like, shut the fuck up. And then that shit came out years later that Drake did have ghostwriters, and it gave a little bit more credence to what my boy was saying.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, it was such a crazy idea
didn't seem
because
like it was
Drake was like at the
possible.
top of his game. You know what I mean? So, but it makes sense though. There was a point where Drake, every record he dropped, and he's still almost there. Like now he has records that are like, but there was a time where like every single record was like top of the game.
And you would think it was just all him, but that's just the illusion of rap or what, you know.
Right.
Once again, I think like rap is like really, it's like when you deconstruct it, there's a lot of illusions that have to be broken down as far as like what an artist actually does and what an artist actually gets help on. Even when it comes to like, even wardrobe sometimes, people think, oh,
Right.
he dresses so well. Yeah, he has a stylist. I could probably
course.
dress well too if I had a stylist.
And money.
And money. And
Bro,
free stuff.
I want people to do me a favor. Go listen to a Kendrick song off the Black Panther soundtrack, and then go listen to a Baby Keem record.
It's going to sound like the same person.
It's the same style. It's the same, like, it was very apparent listening to that. Oh, and then also look at the production credits for the Black Panther soundtrack.
Baby
If you don't believe it, look for his government name if you can't find just Baby Keem in plain writing.
And that's another thing. Like a lot of times when people, they'll look at, like if you look at credits in a song, you know, you can see these things in Spotify now, and you'll see the artist name like Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole, whatever the case may be. But then you look down, this is performed by
15 performers on
but
the
then you'll
record.
see like the written by
Yeah.
and performed by, it's like a whole bunch of people. So it's like, this is always a team collaborative effort. Sometimes you'll get it by where it's just like that one person and then their real government name. But even then, you still don't know what them NDAs, like them non-disclosures. So
A good record takes people. It
No matter
takes
what.
people being in the room. Some of the most successful records I've ever had, some of the best records were collaborative efforts. And that's why you look at someone's page and you see like that their popular releases on Spotify have features on them. And it's not necessarily just because the other person is getting them the plays. It's also, it's a combination of the other person is getting some plays while they're also getting some plays, right? It's also the fact that two minds working on one record makes it a better record. You know, it just comes out doper when you have multiple people working on a record, and that includes the engineer. That includes your homie who has good ideas.
And to go back full circle, even the beat maker, because I know that's like something that we always talked about as well. Like, you know, somebody who's creating a beat, you know, I may go out and look on these websites for these online producers, but these online producers are also producing beats for the, you know, they're the same selection of beats I have, the same selection of beats all these other rappers have. So then you run into those things where it's like you record a song, you write a song to something, and you put it out, and the next thing you know, you scrolling through Spotify, whatever the case may be, and you hear the same beat but a different song. Then it's just like,
It also fucks up like Shazam. Because you Shazam your record and it brings up a different person's record and you're like, what the fuck happened? And then you go listen, it's the same exact beat. So like it messes things up. In my experience going on BeatStars and like Track Train, I always looked for artists or producers rather, who seemed, producers are artists. I always looked for producers that didn't have all the streams in the world, but had the great production.
Sound.
You know what I mean? I always looked for those diamonds in the rough. And still to this day, I have a list of producers that I fuck with that like, no, I have never heard anyone on their records. You know what I'm saying?
He does. He showed me a few of them. He's like, really be having them in a tuck.
Bro, because the thing is like, you spread their name and then everyone starts to pick up on it. And it creates that same problem of like,
it's no longer like exclusive in a sense. It was like, you just want to have.
Now
like,
you don't own the artist.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I will say. Like I do show people who are close to me. I'm just not going to go posting it online and be like, yo, this is where I get all my beats. Also rap on all the beats I get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because that takes away from you in a sense. And also,
it's
the
also
sound you're
a
making.
skill to find good beats.
Because,
So if you find one of those artists that make good beats, that was skillful of you, and you deserve to reap the benefits of finding them because it takes hours, bro. I would have work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. On Saturday, I would wake up, I would go to BeatStars, and I would sit there for 3 hours cycling through beats.
And it'd be the most annoying thing because it's like, yo, most of these beats not even for me, but I just can't leave until
And
I
you
find
find
something.
one.
You find that
In
one.
3 hours, you might find that one that you're like, ready to write to. And because it took me those 3 hours, I challenge an artist to also take the 3 hours, and maybe you'll find a producer who's just as dope.
Yeah, and it's like low key.
But here's the thing. It's always a risk working with producers that are on those websites rather than finding a producer locally
That's
who's
locally
dope.
for you. Yep.
Because you always run the risk of other people hopping on the same beat and Shazam fucking up and all these things. When you find a producer locally who's also on the come up and they're willing to work with you, you're essentially building a sound. Like, music is not just about making a good sounding record. It's also about building your own sound.
Yep.
All the greatest guys do it. Drake has his own sound. Travis Scott has his own sound. Kanye had his own sound with the high-pitched, fast-paced samples. All these guys created their own sound, and it goes beyond just... And that's kind of where the type beat thing fucks up. You can't create your own sound if you're...
Always in a tight beat situation.
Making a type beat track. You get what I'm saying? Because your whole intention was to create the sound of another artist.
Yeah, and then on top of that, when you, as an artist, like a rapper, come onto it, you're looking for a Drake type beat. So then, more than likely,
you're rapping like Drake.
You're not rapping like yourself,
right? And that's the problem. Like, you'll find beautiful shit in working with a producer locally because they already have their own sound, and then you're adding your own sound on top of it, and together you guys are creating a separate sound.
You're blending something that's going to come out beautiful. Even if it doesn't come out beautiful, you're still in that learning process where you're trying something different and you're not going to the same beats that everybody else has. Because normally when a producer does send you one of these beats and you say you want to work on it, they're not going to send it to anybody else. When you buy a lease or like when you buy a lease from one of these websites, anybody else could just go back and buy that lease, because unless you're buying it outright for like whatever price, from like $500, $800 to actually buy it out and they take the track down, anybody else has access to that beat as well. So it's like,
there are producers who have sent me a beat and then have asked me, yo, do you mind if I sell this to someone? And to me, if I didn't pay you money for something and there's an opportunity for you to make money,
go get your bread.
Yeah.
Go get your bread.
Like, I know how hard this game is and how hard making $1 in this game is. So, like, I'll never be like, nah, bro, that's my record. There are artists like that, though, that are, like, egotistical, and they feel like because you sent it to them, like, yo, how are you going to send it to someone else? You didn't pay for it, motherfucker. Like,
which is why, like, that's one of the things, like one of the biggest things for our podcast. Like, yo, we just can't continue to work on the old model of just being selfish and being egotistical and thinking that we're the only rapper or we're the only person on the planet. We have to spread it. And like, Dig mentions this a lot on his Instagram. Like, the market share as far as like independent artists to these big name artists is getting kind of scary for the bigger artists, because we're putting out more music.
We're putting that pressure on them.
We're putting a lot of pressure.
Yo, because think about this. If Drake wants to wait 2 years between his releases, that's perfectly fine. And he's afforded himself the ability to do that. And people are still going to support him.
Yes.
He dropped that record on Friday and people were like, it was like if fucking their homie dropped the record.
Yeah.
Like,
everybody's talking about Lemon Pepper.
Yeah, like the amount of support for like a dude who doesn't need you at all is fucking incredible. When you have a friend who's like trying to make a living, and I'm not that guy who's going to be like, yo, support your friend before, but it's just funny to me, like the psychology behind it. Like, here you are posting this guy's record who gets 1 billion streams, and your good friend from like school drops a record struggle, and you just like let it go. Like, oh, I can't post his shit. Like, Here's the fucked up part. They might like your record and not post it.
It's just
a weird psychology. But here's the thing, though. The second that you pop, they will be posting your records like no other.
Post Malone.
And there will be a fucking caption on it. I know this guy. This is my good friend from school. No, that's not your good friend. You're a dickhead.
And that's what, like, it sucks. Like almost every aspect when you think about this industry, it's just always something that's just like, yo, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know why it has to be this way and why is it constructed this way, but it just is. And it's like, eventually somebody has to break the mold, even for like a listener standpoint sometimes too. Like, yo, there's a lot of people that, once again, Drake just dropped like 3 songs and he probably has to drop in like 2 years or whatever the case may be. There's probably a local artist around you that's been dropping 10, 20 songs. And it's like,
that's giving you constant content that you could be listening to and you've never even looked at it. Yo, I think artists as they grow in the game, need to understand that your friend group is your friend group and they're going to be separate. You should start to build a community with other artists.
Yes.
And you won't have that lack of support from your friends when your friends are now also artists because they support you. You know, Bailz drops a record, I post the record. Most of the time I mixed it, but I also just post it because he's dropping it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He posts a video. I didn't fucking work on the video. I'm going to post it. Because when you start to build an organization with the artists around you, everyone kind of gets the grind and they all understand how difficult it is to become an artist or to like navigate this game. So they're all supportive. And it feels great when you have other people posting your records and they're really like doing their due diligence to like listen to your records and yo, that line you said about this is crazy.
Yeah.
That shit feels better than like, I don't need my best friend from 5 years old to be like, yo, I fuck with that track. That doesn't even benefit me at this point. Yeah.
It doesn't register the same.
Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thankful if he listens to it, but it's not something that I'm like looking for. You know what I mean? Because you grow and you start to understand that like they're not going to be your fan.
Mm-hmm.
That whole friends aren't fans thing that me and Mark Barino always say, like, it's just, it is what it is, bro.
Like if you have your friends and they're your fans, you're lucky. Like
most of the time they're not fans, and they shouldn't be held to that standard anyway.
Yeah, like you can't like look at your friends back like, listen to my music. I had that problem before, but it's like as I grow older, it's like, you know what? I know what music you guys listen to, and I know what I create. There's a complete difference. So for me to be mad at you for not listening to me, I feel like you can support me without having to listen to my music all the time. Like you can support me in other ways. If my music is not your taste, I get it. This is a different type of vibe I'm going for, you know?
I think producers are underappreciated in this game. If you look at any of my releases that came with like a producer that I'm actually boys with, they're a feature on the record.
Yeah, they're not just like in a credit somewhere.
Yeah, I featured them because the difference is I don't expect a regular consumer to look through the credits. There are definitely people who do that, but do I expect everyone to do that? No. So I want their name in the forefront because I want to always make sure that they understand, yo, people know who you are.
Yeah.
People know when they hear just me rapping on the record and they see another name, they might at first be confused, like, when does this other guy come in?
Mm-hmm.
But then they're going to recognize, yo, that's the guy who made the beat.
Yeah, because it just makes, once again, the community, because once again, the producers tend to or seem to be always forgotten, whether it be people not wanting to buy the beats or just not giving them the credit. That's how you give them their flowers, especially for making a beat for you, whether they gave it to you off the arm or even whether you purchased it. Like if I purchased something from somebody online, I may put it in the credits, but unless we have like a good rapport when I'm talking to them, I'll actually put their name in the song. It always depends.
Well, it also, the difference is this too. The producer and the rapper at one point were like this. Like they worked hand in hand and they both supported each other the same way. We've gotten to a very impersonal point of music where the producer doesn't even care that someone rapped on their record. Mm-hmm. They're just caring about the money.
The money that's going to come in.
And I understand that from a business standpoint, but also like there's no personal relationship between a lot of producers and artists. So I can get it from both sides. Like it's not like the producer is posting the record with his beat on it.
Yeah.
And the rapper doesn't give credit to that producer, but also like we made an agreement when I gave you that money.
The money.
And you don't necessarily have to. I'm talking more or less when you work with a guy who you were in the same room with, or like you know him personally. You guys have eaten lunch before.
Yeah.
And you guys put out a record. You should put their name on it. A producer who sells a lease that you like email the track to and he doesn't even respond.
Yeah, no need for him to be up there.
Yeah, it's a different story.
It's a different vibe.
You know what I mean? You could put them in the credits. I'll still put them in the credits. Mm-hmm. But as far as putting their name on the track, that's a different story entirely.
Because it's just like, and like even if you do have like a relationship with like a online producer, whatever the case may be, it's not the same as having somebody that's like right there near you that can like, or cook up with you or whatever the case may be, because that's like where hip hop originally came from. It's like once again, like you said, producer and a rapper cohesive together, sitting in there, coming out with tracks. It wasn't like Manny Fresh was like somewhere else in the world and then he was emailing the stuff to Lil Wayne and also putting the beats online back then. It's a whole different vibe.
You know what's also a different vibe? When you're listening to a record, and our video went, so we're gonna end soon. But when you're listening to a record, and like when you're in a room with someone and they're making a beat, and you could go, "Yo, can you try that out? Like it's at 85 BPM. Can you try that at 90?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, those drums, can we make them hit harder?
Yeah.
Yo, I don't really like that synth. Can we try something else there?"
It doesn't become a one shot, like one shot.
Right. It's not, oh, this record is 98 BPM and that's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. You can't
Because
do nothing about
if
it.
you do speed it up or slow it down using a plugin, it will lose quality and sound like shit.
Yeah.
Like I have artists who go, "Yo, can you speed up the tempo of the overall record like 2 BPM?" Like, yeah, but it's not going to sound how you think it's going to sound.
Yeah, you're gonna be missing something.
It's gonna fuck something up. Whether it's a hi-hat or whatever, it's gonna fuck something up. So there's beauty in working with a producer hand in hand. There's beauty in the support system that comes from having a community in music, and you should really look to build with a producer. And producers, I know I'm saying this as Mr. Rapper Guy, and I'm saying this as an engineer as well. Stop being so against working with people, and stop, like, producers have been very like to themselves, and I know that they feel underappreciated, but you're going to continue to be underappreciated if you're such a standoffish person that you won't even give someone a shot to like pitch you something.
The shitty attitude and everything.
Yeah, like I understand you want money.
Yeah.
Everyone wants money.
We do too.
But if the artist is dope and they're a good person and like you could see like you guys building a relationship, give it a shot and don't be so like, "Yo, this is my rate and this is this." Like, we get it. You know what I mean? But also, it's dope to make dope music with dope people. So just figure out a way to navigate that, because producers do get overshadowed, but they also a lot of the time cause that because their attitude toward the game. Like I have the blessing to be working with a lot of dope producers, and every one of them is a really dope person.
Yeah.
Like they're all very on board with the idea of like, "Yo, I'm just trying to create something good."
And even from the relationships you had with them, I've also reached out to them, and I can contest that they are good people.
Because here's one thing that you'll know about me: if I'm rocking with somebody, it's a character thing. It's not based on just dopeness. There's a lot of dope people out there. There's good rappers who are pieces of shit. There's good producers who are pieces of shit. And if I'm vouching for somebody, I'm vouching more on their character than I'm vouching on their skills. So I always tell people when they hit me up and go, "Yo, I fuck with that 19808, or I fuck with Data Mosh, or I fuck with," you know what I'm saying? I'll always be like, reach out to them.
Reach out to them, yep.
Like, hit them up. And if you need to use me as a reference, it's just like work, bro. Like, if you need to use me as a reference,
I know this guy named Diggy Metro. He said, you guys
Diggy
are cool.
sent me your way. You know what I'm saying? And I'll do that with graphic designers that I know. I'll do that with, like, if I've had a conversation with them before, feel free to reach out. I'm telling you that they're cool people because I've talked to them before. I've sat in rooms with these people before. So I know that they're good people. I don't know how they're going to respond to you at first, but I'll vouch for you to them as well if they ask. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to build a community, and I think that that's what we're doing with this podcast.
Yep.
So guys, you know, pay respect to the producer, understand the quality difference between ripping something off YouTube, and just start to do things the proper way and make great music from it.
Yeah, you're a business. Start acting like one. You know what I'm saying? Just try to do what's best for you. But at the same time, do what's best for the producer as well. Because once again, it's a community. If they're not making the beats, nobody rapping on them. If the rappers are not rapping on your beats, then it's like, there's nothing that could be done.
If you're a clothing designer and the free fabric that you could get off the truck feels like sandpaper, do you still want it?
No.
Right. If the free beat sounds like shit, pay for the beat. It's about quality. That's what we're doing.
Quantity.
All right, guys. This is Rappers Guy Podcast. We are signing out. This is Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
Peace out, guys.